Hello, welcome to Rising, a show with excellent theme song music, I think. Don't you think, Brianna? I love our new music.
I have to keep myself from doing a little shimmy as the show starts every day.
You're barely holding back, I can see. All right, what are we talking about? I suspect it has to do with Donald J. Trump.
You suspect correctly, Robbie. We are all waiting with bated breath. Some reports say today is the day the former president reportedly told advisors he may as well turn the arrest into a spectacle, wishing to be in handcuffs when and if the event happens. This is according to The Guardian.
Regarding the classified documents found in his possession, according to ABC News, well, the prosecutors in the special counsel's office have presented evidence that former President Donald Trump deliberately misled his own attorneys about retaining classified materials after leaving office, which, okay, yeah, but they all have classified materials.
Everybody has classified materials.
That much.
Everybody's a bad guy. But look, what do you think about this Trump strategy of saying, if you're going to arrest me, let's get that perp walk going? Ostensibly, I suppose, in an effort to gin up, public sympathy and to be able to really make that argument that this is a political prosecution and that he's being victimized here.
He's going for like a first they canceled Jesus, now they'll cancel Trump.
I am your retribution. Yeah. This is apparently the theme of this whole electoral cycle. Do you think that's a good move?
Look, I can't deny that it is potentially a good move in the narrow sense of winning, of fighting back against DeSantis in the Republican primary. And we have to be clear, that is Donald Trump's that is who he sees as his main opponent right now, is Ron DeSantis. He understands. It's going to be him and DeSantis in a battle for this nomination. He is turning more of his fire on DeSantis. A lot of his very passive-aggressive Truth Social messages are about DeSantis. The perception that DeSantis should wait it out. This isn't his turn. Trump should get another shot at it. And he's ungrateful. And Trump keeps saying that he gave DeSantis everything that he has. He elevated him from a know-nothing local Floridan official to this status. And if not for Trump, he would still be in that position.
Which is true, more or less.
Absolutely true.
Yeah.
But it's also true that DeSantis doesn't need Trump now. He's sworn to do many of Trump's policies, but doesn't have the baggage, is not, just had successes in the midterms where Trump and Trumpian candidates had really spectacular failures. So he has the potential electability argument to make. Trump doesn't have a strong electability argument to make at the moment. But yes, could the spectacle of being handcuffed and dragged off to jail, it will infuriate many of his supporters. I am seeing people, even people who are somewhat neutral on the Trump-DeSantis question on the right, were not super pleased with how DeSantis has handled this so far. They wanted a stronger denunciation of the New York district attorney from DeSantis. DeSantis kind of said, well, I'm not going to get involved with hush payments to porn stars. What are hush payments to porn stars? The hush payments to porn stars that hush payments to porn stars over and over again, just to remind you what the situation is. Yeah, he got his little
jab in there. He tried to play it both ways. Yes, lean into the argument that this is a political maneuver here, but not go so far as to say that there isn't some potential wrongdoing here by Donald Trump. Make sure everybody remembers what Donald Trump actually did. You say DeSantis doesn't need Trump, Robbie, but it's worth remembering that the most recent Morning Consult survey shows that Trump has a 54% support among likely primary voters as compared to DeSantis's 26%, the lowest DeSantis has been in this poll since they started the poll in December. So there is still an argument that to the extent that one of them is more contingent on the likes of the other person's followers, it's definitely DeSantis that's in the backseat here.
That is true. DeSantis, at least in theory, has room to grow. There are still a lot of people in this country who probably never heard the name DeSantis, don't know who he is. Everybody knows who Trump is, and everybody's made up their mind about him. So it would be very hard, I think, for Trump to grow his support. If you support him, you might stick with him. If you don't support him, you're not coming aboard the Trump train for round 3. Maybe you are, but that seems like more of a stretch than who's DeSantis? I haven't heard of him. Oh, well, you could learn about him and you could like him. So that's what he has going for him. I will say this whole thing with the rest over the hush payments to porn stars, as Ron DeSantis put it. The more so I'm seeing some coverage of it in the mainstream. They had on. It was CNN had on former Representative Peter Meijer last night. Peter Meyer's a Republican from Michigan who I quite like. He was primaried out of a job. He was one of the Republicans who voted to impeach Trump over January 6th. He was primaried by a far-right person who got funds from the DNC and beat Meijer and then lost the general. Good, smart calculation Democrats made. And he was saying that, look, he voted to impeach Trump. He obviously doesn't think Trump is fit for office. He thinks, he kind of alluded to the fact that the Georgian election interference charge is a much, in theory, stronger one. He really thought that this is an ill-considered move to indict Trump over this payment made by Michael Cohen, someone who is should not be considered a trustworthy public figure. That there's a statute of limitations element to it. It would be a huge step to bring a former president in like this. That's not to say former president should be above the law, but just like. Prosecutors do consider, how likely are we to actually get this person? How strong is the evidence? What are we up against?
Yeah,
if you consider all of that, is this the right thing?
Yeah, the perp walk combined with him ultimately being free is an image that plays not so well for Democrats as compared to the perp walk where he ends up in jail.
They canceled Jesus, but like Jesus, he will rise again.
Well, speaking of this tee-off between DeSantis and Trump, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis had this to say regarding Trump's nickname for him. Let's watch.
Which is your favorite nickname that Trump's given you so far? Is it Ron DeSanctimonious or Meatball Ron?
Well, I can't.
I think even he went off Meatball Ron.
I can't. I don't know how to spell DeSanctimonious. I don't really know what it means, but I kind of like it's long. It's got a lot of vowels. I mean, so we go with that. That's fine. You can call me whatever you want. I mean, just as long as you also call me a winner, because that's what we've been able to do in Florida is put a lot of points on the board and really take the state to the next level.
I like Ron DeSanctimonious. I think that's the winner.
Because of all the vowels? Okay, well, look, Robbie, do you think that this is a kind of a cope? Because DeSantis has been criticized in the past for not being sharp enough, witty enough in his comebacks to Donald Trump. Very few people can match Donald Trump when it comes to this kind of verbal banter. He is a man that was famous long before running for president and the main character in many a rap song because he always had possessed a certain amount of bravado and kind of, talent at this kind of, street talk.
Right. He can't be beaten at that. He's genuinely entertaining to listen to.
I mean, when they say Meatball Ron, I chuckle. I can't help it. It's so silly. It's so puerile. It's so immature.
You chuckle when Trump says it.
Yeah, I mean, there's something so absurd about it, but he knows how to coin a memorable turn of phrase. So what do you make of Ron DeSanctimonious's reply there? Is that good enough? Should he punch back harder, or is he smart to kind of let it roll off and say, hey, at the end of the day, as long as I'm a winner, that's what really counts?
Look, he I'm sure has studied the 2016 midterm cycle. What did all of those people, Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio, Jeb Bush, Rand Paul, Carly Fiorina, and 10 other people, what did they all do wrong, John Kasich, that they could not take down, Chris Christie, that they couldn't take down Trump? And those people did attack him. But it never worked out for the person who, if you got down in the gutter with Trump, you stayed there. So he learned that clearly. So he's not ready to get down and dirty with Trump to punch back in the same way that Trump does, because it's never worked for anyone else, and he has at least learned that.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah.
I think that's right.
Well, Fox News host Tucker Carlson weighed in on the potential charges against Trump on Monday night. Let's watch some of that.
This is a turning point for the country. Now, the headline here is not that they're being unfair to Donald Trump again, though of course they are, or even that Trump is the former president of the United States. Who cares? I mean, though as long as we are indicting retired presidents, where are the charges against George W. Bush for invading Iraq under false pretenses and giving permanent normalized trade relations to China, which completely wrecked our economy? Where are those charges? Don't hold your breath. In Washington, wrecking your own country is not considered a crime. And of course, George W. Bush knows that well, which is why he doesn't seem worried at all. Criticizing the ruling class, that's what they indict you for. But either way, Donald Trump's former job as president of the United States is not really the point here. Yes, of course you can indict former presidents if they've done something wrong. That's not what this is about. The headline here is that there is, as noted, a presidential race in progress right now. And if you check the polls, you will find that Trump is leading the Republican field. That's the unprecedented thing. Taking out your opponent using the justice system. If the Democratic Party is allowed to do this, allowed to crush the presidential frontrunner, the main threat to their power, with a bogus criminal case, where does that leave us? We're done. Because that precedent will live forever.
So there's some certainly in there that I agree with. Actually, I think that was comment was from 2 nights ago. So I alluded to this on the show yesterday. The part about George Bush, I think that's dead on.
You gotta give it to him.
I think that's dead on.
Yeah, and it's a kind of an indictment of the left that you're hearing that particular brand of criticism. In
I
this
know. Remember when the
moment
left
from
talked
someone
about prosecuting?
I
George W. Bush?
vaguely, a very long time ago, do
Before he
remember that.
became, kind of a resistance hero for not being
Michelle
Trumpy enough?
Obama's
The
pew
fist
buddy.
bump or something? Yeah.
Yeah, so look, I definitely would push back against the idea that the reason that Trump is being targeted is
that he's
because
gone
he's
after
a
the ruling
champion
class.
of the
Yes, that's
populist, right or anything like that. But I think it is bad optics. It's not that I don't think that there is some underlying wrong there. If not in the New York case, then in the Georgia case, most likely that's a stronger case. I saw Van Jones and some other liberals making that argument as well. But the question is, given the inconsistency between what Trump is accused of, what other presidents have been accused of, the more significant national, international issues that other presidents have been mired in, the choice to prosecute Donald Trump, a former president, as he is leading the Republican presidential primary race, it does have the feel of the kind of political prosecutions that we have criticized as Americans of other countries. I really am hesitating to make a comparison between Donald Trump and like Lula here.
Yeah.
But the idea, there is often an underlying something there to the charges that are being waged. There was a lot of corruption in Brazil. It wasn't that there was a nothing there, but it was the idea that the only reason that he was being targeted for corruption was because they wanted to stop him from winning. And he was a popular candidate.
I totally agree with that. Yeah, and this prosecution is, to the extent it's coming from like the Democratic coalition. These are the people who say democracy is at stake, but then we're going to resort to kind of a counter-democratic. Not exactly, because again, Trump was incautious and may have committed a variety of crimes.
Sure.
But the democratic, an anti-democratic impulse as the means to hold Trump accountable. Trump was defeated at the ballot box in 2020. It seems very much within the realm of possibility, if not the more likely alternative, that he could be defeated again if he was the general election candidate. If you have faith in democracy, you have to trust at some level these decisions to the people. He was beaten through the normal democratic system, not because he was arrested and you weren't allowed to vote for him anymore. I think there should be more trusting of the wisdom of the people.
Right. And unfortunately, the Democrats have not been showing a lot of trust in democracy. And on my radar coming up next, I will be talking about how they're trying to put their fingers on the scale in the Democratic primary race. Stick around.